My name is Michael Merchant. I'm the Commissioner for the Department of Buildings. And on behalf of Mayor Rahm Emanuel, I want to welcome you all to our E-Plan training session. First, I want to thank the AIA for hosting this event. They've been a really great partner, and we look forward to partnering with the AIA in all of our future initiatives. Also, we're very fortunate to have Ms. Alora Chambers with us from Evolve Software. She'll be speaking to you a little bit later and actually going through the process for E-Plan and project docs. You know, there's two themes that have been constant in what we've been hearing for our permit process. One is speed. The second is clarity on comments and things of that nature. So we've heard you loud and clear, and we're confident that you all are going to agree with us that the E-Plan is a positive step in the right direction. We've been using E-Plan in our developer services program since January of this year, and what we're doing right now is we're looking to extend it to our standard plan review. So that's what this session is about. On July 2nd, we're looking forward to going 100% with the electronic plan review. But for whoever's ready, on June 4th, we're going live, and you'll be able to start submitting plans electronically at that time. Today's session is geared towards the SPR. So please excuse us if it deviates slightly from the DS plan review. By no means is this going to be the end of our streamlining process. There's going to be more to come in the future, but for now we just want to focus on this particular project. I would like us to focus on E-Plan, and let's save all the other suggestions, because I'm sure you all have many other suggestions for how the building department can improve its efficiencies. But let's save those for another time that we get together. So as we go through the presentation, please save the questions to the end. Let us get through the presentation. And I want you all to know that you all have a copy of the guide, and that's going to be also put on the web for those of your colleagues that could not be here. Now, the video you're about to see, as well as a complete video recording of today's session, will also be posted on the web for those who couldn't attend today. And everybody will have complete access to what's being presented today. A few housekeeping matters. Please put your cell phones on vibrate. And also, there's going to be another group meeting across the hall. So if you need to take a cell call, please just go out into the elevator lobby. Thank you once again. And now we're just going to show you a brief video on how easy the process is going to be. Hello, I'm Building Commissioner Michael Merchant, and on behalf of Mayor Emanuel, I am pleased to welcome you all to our orientation video on our new electronic plan review process. As you are aware, the Mayor has made streamlining the building permit process a priority for homeowners, businesses, and design professionals. One of the key elements of our streamlining efforts is implementing our electronic plan review, or E-Plan.
E-Plan enables architects and builders to submit plans to City Hall electronically, eliminating the need for paper plans.
E-Plan will offer enormous benefits to the design professional community and your clients. Unlike the current paper system, E-Plan allows for several cost and time-saving efficiencies, including submission of plans electronically from the convenience of your office 24 hours, 7 days a week. Simultaneous review of the plans by all professional and trade disciplines. City reviewer markups are made directly on the plans to provide correction, direction, and clarity. Resubmission of corrected plans electronically from the convenience of your office, and real-time return of your approved stamped plans once the fees are paid.
Used in over 60 municipalities throughout the country, the E-Plan application is quick and easy. Let's watch architect Brad complete the process from the convenience of his own office. As usual, Brad completes an online permit application in the Hansen system. Under E-Plan, there will be no need for an intake appointment at City Hall. City staff reviews Brad's permit application and, when in order, he'll get an email instructing him to upload all the project documents and drawings. After following the file formatting instructions on the Department of Buildings webpage, Brad's ready to upload his plans. He logs into his project, selects the Drawings Submittals folder, and clicks Upload Files. Brad's work is done for now. City staff will pre-screen Brad's drawings and, when in order, they email Brad, notifying him to pay the required 50% of the permit application fee to initiate the plan review process. Once Brad remits payment, his plans are automatically routed to multiple city examiners to allow for simultaneous review and feedback, dramatically shortening the review time. Reviewer markups will now be made directly on the plans to provide correction, direction, and clarity. If modifications are needed, Brad automatically receives an email. Brad makes the corrections, logs onto his project, and uploads the corrected files using the same file name and folder as he did initially. The system knows that this document is the most recent version and automatically displays it when the file is viewed. The system also keeps older versions in archive for an audit trail. The city reviews the corrections through approval, then emails Brad that his stamped plans and permit are approved and ready for downloading upon receipt of the remaining 50% of the permit application fees. That's it. Brad has his approved plans and permits. All stakeholders, including the building owners, can receive an instant notification of a plan's completion.
The City of Chicago is committed to making the building permit process a green light for businesses and homeowners. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with you to enhance the permit process.
Visit us online to watch our progress and learn more on the Department of Buildings website.
My name is Laura Chambers. I work with Evolve Software, as Commissioner Merchant mentioned, and I have had a pleasure to work with the City of Chicago. I am a previous user of Project Docs for the last 4 years, so I feel confident we'll all get through this together with no problem. You have in front of you, you have two guides. One that has really a screenshot of the presentation, and the other is your applicant guide. I'll be referring to both of them during this session. Okay. So the first slide I have is just some frequently asked questions that we as users of Project Docs have, about the software, how it's going to benefit the department, the city, as well as you. How does it work? We'll go through the process of how it works. What computer technology do I need to use it? That's very important. It is a secure web application for those of you worried about drawings being viewed by others. It's based on your user and password. And how do I access? So the first thing, I'll just give you a brief intro about Project Docs. As you know, the city has been has really taken a lot of effort to look at new technology, from online services, websites, and so this is really an addition to what you have and up and coming as far as the technology. So Project Docs fits into that umbrella. So we're part of the technical innovation driving change in government. The benefits are you have all that paper that you lug around in your wheelbarrows, and you have all this paper that you have to sort through, all this paper you have to sort. So the the initial benefit that I can think of is that it eliminates all that paper. Reduces the cost of you printing paper for every resubmittal, handling of your paper drawings, faster submission. You don't have to lug all that paper to the submission or the permit counters. Now you can do this from your office or home or on vacation. You have instant email notifications. That's how we communicate back to you from the city to you. It's an automatic email notification that happens during the entire process. Another really great item is that it is concurrent reviews. That means that when it's assigned, you have multi-departments reviewing at the same time. So that's also a time saver for you. Electronic review and version control. Based on any changes you made for the resubmission when you upload, you actually upload with the same file name. We'll get into that in more detail, but it will automatically version. So as the video was mentioning, it keeps up with the archive of the historical files that have been uploaded in advance of that. So it's a great tool for that. Those are the benefits. Something else we noticed in the end of last year is there is a local government surge, meaning you're not alone. Other cities and counties are vastly, they're purchasing this software for the same purposes of the benefits. Chicago being one at the end of 2011, and they've been using it with developer services since January of this year. So it's not like you're along. Other places are doing this as well. How is ePlan used in other jurisdictions? You're using it from a building developer point of view currently, but other cities and counties, they use it with public works, land development, parks and recreation. The list goes on and on and on. So there's room for expansion. So even though you're using it for building department, there will be capabilities to expand that to other departments as well. Now, the real item here is how do I get started? You already have a username and password that you use with the city's portal. You're able to log in to their website and you have a username and password at current. You will use that same username and password to start with Project Docs. You will first log in through the city's web portal. Then you will choose a permit type. And upon choosing that permit type, then you will answer questions, whatever you have on the form, and you will submit your contact information, email address, which is very important for this tool. This is how we communicate. And once you submit that application, the first thing that you receive is an email notification from Project Docs. So that's the first key element of Project Docs. Now we'll turn to, in your user guide, I'll give you a moment on page 4 of your user guide. There will be a better picture that will display what that email invitation looks like. Okay? There are a few key elements on every invitation that you receive to the project when you submit online. First, you will have some instructions that welcomes you to the city of Chicago with some other information listed on the email itself. Additionally, there will be some additional information that as they move forward with the process, that they will include in your email invitation. The other thing to note is you have a temporary password. This is when you're first logging in. So you've logged into the city's web portal for your application, but this is another software tool that will allow you to also enter it without going into the application world. So when you apply, but then when you're checking your plan review, you'll be using Project Docs to look at the comments and do everything when it comes to the actual plans. So we first give you a temporary password. Also, if you notice at the bottom it says Project Permit Access Link. That will, if you click on that link, that will actually give you the page, the web page for Project Docs. So at that point, when you click on that link, it will automatically launch a login screen that looks like this. And that login screen, you can actually save it as your favorites. You know, to have a web address just like any other web page would have. So you would want to be able to save it as your favorites and do that. So those are the three items so far. So I will review that with you. So we first logged in, created an application through the web portal with the city. And then once you do that, you actually submit your application, and Project Docs automatically gives you an invitation email. Now, one thing to be clear, the first time you get a temporary password. From that point on, when you first log into Project Docs, it will force you to set your own password. So you would actually set your own password. So after the first invitation, you won't get that temporary password in your email. You'll actually get just saying this is the name of the project, and then you will be logging in with your own email, your own password at that point. So this screen here, it provides you the login information, email address, and if it's the first time, temp password. If it's the second on times, it will be whatever password you've actually set for this particular application. So moving on to the next slide, we'll talk about uploading files. On page 5 of your applicant guide, there are some specifics about uploading files. It even talks about ActiveX controls. You'll just need to read the specifics there, and it talks about the file name size, 70 characters. So make note of that. Also, before you upload, there are some rules that the city has in place. If you look on page 6, on 6, it starts to talk about the file type standards. Currently, searchable PDF files are accepted for calcs and reports. It talks about the DWF, the design web format files. They're the acceptable files for your drawings. It mentions about 2D DWFs for those that are familiar with that as well. On page 7, it indicates border standards. So the city has an approval stamp. So when you're doing your drawings or creating your drawings, some of you have title bars that are on the right side of your pages. You will need to make sure that the top corner, you don't really have to draw a box or anything like that, but on the top corner of your file itself, the stamp will be automatically placed there when there is approval. So you need to leave a 3-inch by 3-inch space. That's what it means by the border standard at the top of your pages, of your files. Graphic scales, you have to have your typical graphic scale, and this is just an example what you would use. You all should be pretty familiar with the graphic scales. The drawing formats, as we mentioned before, the DWF file format. And then, more importantly, it talks about the individual file name that you reference for each of your files. So you know how you have paper sheets now? And each one sheet, each page, well, each one of those sheets is a file, okay? And then you would name it. So if you have architectural sheets or files, they would be named, as an example, the sheet number, and then the sheet name, and then the specifics of that particular application number, as listed on page 7. So you will, when you get the invitation, you know, prior to actually applying would probably be the recommended method, is that you've already identified the file name structure, the types of files and all of that, and then when you apply, it's all ready. Okay? The file names must not exceed 70 characters in length, and all of that is pretty well spelled out for you on page 7. Also, another naming standard that's in place that the city is mentioning is the permit application files. So you still will be required to submit a PDF building application, commercial, MOPD, whatever the types of applications that you normally would have submitted on paper. So where do you put all of this? And you've got these files, you've got everything ready, and now where to put it. When you log into Project Docs, and you actually log in to get ready to upload, there's folders. So when you log in and you click on the actual project, you'll see folders that look like this. There will be folders listed, and they're also on your page 8. And depending on if it's a developer services versus a standard plan folder, those will all be listed out. So for an example, those A sheets that you had, that you've already created files for, A1 underscore whatever the name is, then you would upload all of those into your architectural folder. Same thing with civil, electrical, fire prevention. So it's really a simple process in terms of, if you've ever used any tool at all that you upload data or files into different folders, it works the same way. On page 9, it gives some more folders. It gives you really a very good explanation of all the folders and what you put in those folders on page 9. Now, once you've uploaded, you've clicked that upload files, you're in the right folder, then you're actually able to see little thumbnails of the files you've uploaded. So you don't have to open up the folder to actually see. It actually starts processing, and it actually publishes each of those files where you're actually able to look at them just on the screen without opening. So you can see that you've put the right files in the right folders. Next slide. So let's review so far what we've talked about before we move forward, just to make sure. I know it's after lunch. I want to make sure everything is clear. Project Docs works on email notifications. So the first email you would have received is after you've applied online for the very first time. You get a project invite, an invitation, and that will be by the email address that you've supplied to your applicant when you submitted your application. So that's number one. So email notifications, what you want to make sure is that you do not have you have the junk mail filtered, and some of your mail goes into junk mail. You want to make sure that Project Docs at cityofchicago.org will come to your inbox. Okay? So that's number one to remember. Number two to remember is, in some cases, not all, like your invitation not, but when we start talking about resubmittals or correction requests, there will be a task. It's called task, and basically when you log in to Project Docs, there you will see on that same front screen, there will be a link that will give you the task. In this case, if it was resubmittal, they're spelled out in the actual email, and it will indicate the name of the task. You click on the task link, which will be on the main page when you log in. You won't miss it. And when you click on it, what will come up next will be an EForm. And it will look something like this. It will have information at the top of the EForm, and it will spell out specifics about what is required of you at that step. Okay, so I'm going to turn back looking at my guide again. Go to the next slide, please. Let's talk about pre-screening. With standard plans, your first pre-screening is a zoning pre-screening. And that's where it's approved or conditionally approved or not approved. That is the first pre-screening. So once you've logged in, you've uploaded all of what you need to upload, and you're logged out of the system, behind the scenes, those files that you've been uploading are going to a specific project manager. In this case, it would be a zoning person. And then the workflow will get started. We call everything with workflow because it mimics the process. So the first step would be zoning. Zoning review is done first to determine if it needs to now go on to the next. Now, if your pre-screening for zoning is declined or they need additional information, I bet you can't guess what the first thing you'll receive: an email notification. This goes on, I can talk about this all day, it goes on and on. Email notification again, telling you what? That you have a task. That means for you to now log into Project Docs and click on the task, and then an EForm will come up with whatever the information is needed at that time. Okay? Getting the kind of the hint of how it's going to go. Okay? Now, let's assume, let's put on your imaginary cap, that you pass pre-screening. There's another pre-screening that's done, but when everything is said and done, with those emails going back and forth, how many ever times they need to go back and forth, now we're ready to review your plans. It gets assigned out to plan examiners. City of Chicago uses the first in group type of assignment. So based on what type of permit that you applied for and what submittals you've uploaded and now have been approved through the pre-screening, it gets assigned out to those disciplines to look at your plans. So we're still in this workflow process, going through step by step, just like we're mimicking exactly how the paper process is, except it's electronic. Once it's assigned, the plan examiners now are assigning. So I'm just giving you, this is not something you need to worry about, but this gives you some background information as to what's happening now behind the scenes. The plan examiners look at the same files that you've already uploaded. They review them for review, and then they actually, next slide, they, if needed, let's hope we don't get many of these, but if needed, you'll get these markups, okay? Markups are now a visual thing, because you used to get correction letters, notices, whatever, to say this is what's wrong with the plan. What's really great about Project Docs is you'll actually see a visual of where the problem is. No more it's on the third sheet, you know, top left corner, however they do it. It'll actually be a visual. And what you'll receive is you'll receive a indicator of where the problem is when it's your turn to look at it. So here's the plan examiner. They're marking up the plans. They're actually using a tool that we have that's called change marks. So you'll see the word change marks in different places. And all that is, it allows them to identify exactly where the problem is and add a comment to associate with where the problem is. So it provides you a way to be able to visually see the changes that need to be made. And while all of that's going on, whether it's architectural, structural, or electrical, they are all reviewing all at the same time, and as they're reviewing, it's automatically uploading to what we call the EForm, which you'll receive whenever it's your turn to look at it. So all of these, if you notice on the screen with this particular EForm, it'll have actual corrections. It'll have all those corrections they've had. It will be corrections on the actual EForm with a link that will allow you to look at it. So I'm just bringing that up here. We're going to talk about it in the book as well. Drawing resubmittal on page 10. It starts on page 10, and the next slide being the email correction. So now the plan examiners have reviewed all the plans and documents and drawings. I bet you can't guess what the next thing that you will receive at that point. Yes, another email, okay? You'll get another email notification saying that you have corrections. You'll get a task assignment, just like before. You'll have a task. You'll log into Project Docs. If you haven't marked Project Docs as your favorite, because it could be some days in between, then on the email, there's a nice link that allows you to just click on the login link and opens up that same window to Project Docs. But also on the email, there are some instructions always about what's the next step for you to do. So on the bottom of page 10 and then on page 11. Now to make note, you receive your email information when all the disciplines have completed their review. So with some collaboration between the disciplines, whoever needed to actually review your plans, they're all looking at it. They can converse with each other and talk with each other to see what the issues are. And so you get a more cleaner package that way, that everything is in place and completed at that time. So you'll get the email notification, you'll receive the task for the corrections, and then you will actually receive, when you click on the task, you'll receive an EForm. Okay, so the EForm on page 11 is what you would look at. It will be like what you saw me showing you for the plan examiners. Same EForm, you all have access to the same information. So at the bottom of page 11, it'll show you have a better bird's eye view of what that looks like. Now at this point, you're able to do several things, and you'd want to, you're not ready to upload yet. You'll be looking at that EForm. You'll be working with your subcontractors to correct the issues that they've specified that's on the EForm. That will be now your corrections, formal corrections letter. And it will have all the corrections listed that you can share. You can actually download the corrections to an Excel format if you wanted to email it to your subs. And you have that in place for you as long as you need it. What they're indicating on page 12 of the guide is in the middle of the page, it's got circled, you can save and close this form. So you don't have to complete all of this as soon as you get it. You have to review it with your subcontractors to make sure everything is ready before you do. Because they want you to submit all of your corrections, all of your revisions for upload all at the same time during the same cycle. So you don't get architectural, then upload just architectural and electrical. You actually collect everything and upload it all at the same time. All right. That is spelled on page 12. Now, you remember we talked about uploading. Okay, you want to make sure that your revision files are using the same name that you used when you uploaded initially. It'll just be that those files will be changed, and the system will automatically detect the change. So you don't need to name version 2 of your name that you've identified. You keep it all the same name, and when you upload again to those predefined folders, so wherever you've uploaded initially for your revisions, then that completes your upload process at that point. Now, once you've uploaded, and hopefully everybody's with me so far, once you've uploaded those drawings and files using that same method you did initially, then you go back to your task and you open back your eForm. Remember, there's really just 3 elements to the whole system. Email notifications, you get a task, and it opens up an eForm. And now with the added effort is with the change marks and be able to look at those particular drawings for corrections. Once you've done all of that, I'm speeding along to the last step you would do when you're ready for the city to now take a look at the revised drawings, is that when you open up the task on the eForm, you'll see on page 12, step number 4 here, you will indicate that you've reviewed everything, you've addressed all the items, and you've uploaded the revised drawings. And when you do check boxes between all 3 of those, that's when the complete button becomes activated. So this could take several days, weeks, not sure, but it's a process in between. So you have to imagine that you are logging into Project Docs periodically, working with your subs. That task, that eForm stays in place as long as you just save and close it. And you keep that in place until you're ready to actually submit that to the city. Okay? All right, next slide. Now, this really gives you an idea of what the plan examiners can see, and this is where I think there will be some time savings, is the resubmittal. Your resubmit, those revised files, remember I'm saying you keep it the same name as you kept before. They have versions. So we have version control with the software. So the plan examiners are able to look at version 1 and version 2 and compare. They can do a side by side. They can look to see what their previous markups were that you took care of through your resubmittal. And they can look at those 2 plan drawings and compare the 2. They can do side by side, as well as they can actually do overlay compare. And that way they can actually see, as long as you have it adjusted, they even can adjust if you've had to adjust your drawings somewhat, they can even adjust it to make them align. So it's an overlay compare feature. And here's just a view of if it was the whole thing. We can see all the changes that have been made from the previous version to the second version. So that's what's happening after you do your revision. So this is helpful to the plan examiner in that with paper, sometimes it's hard to detect. Even though you cloud and delta it, sometimes it's hard to detect all the changes that have been made. And this tool will provide them that capability. Now I know this is a process that seems reiterative, because it is. You know, you have your email notifications, you have your task, and then you have these eForms, and then you're out doing your own thing with making sure that everything's corrected. But let's say now everything's corrected, no matter how many times. If they had to go through that cycle again, it would go through the same cycle again. Okay? So it's just, that's really the main items that you need to be worried about. But once everything is ready and approved, then that's where the stamp, making sure there's place for that stamp from the city, that 3 by 3 inch I mentioned earlier. They'll do what they call a batch stamp and stamp all the drawings provided at that time. Now, approved, it'll be approved. Now, there are some other key elements that you want to glance at. This on pages 13, 14, 15, that you can go back to your office, and once you start using it, actually it'll become more clear for you. But there is also an important state to mention on page 16 is that final approval process. So on page 16, it talks about Your final assessed permit fees, you will have to submit them in person. But just recall at this time you haven't had any exchange of paper whatsoever, but now you will. You will have to create, or you will actually have to have a hard copy cover sheet with all the disciplines wet stamped on that hard copy, on that cover sheet. So when you come bring in that cover sheet, and you will download the cover sheet from Project Docs, and there will be instructions, another yet email notification at approval time, but you will actually bring in that cover sheet stamped, and that's what you would submit to the permit center at the permit counter with along with your fee. So that's your first paper exchange at that point. Okay. I think that's it. Any questions?
I have a question. Yes, sir. I noticed on the file type submittals, there's one cover sheet only that seems to be staying out as a PDF format. Please.
What page are you looking at in the guide? Page 6 in the guide, under the file type standards.
Right. It says PDF only for the cover sheet. It seems to be kind of a anomaly for the rest of them, because all the other ones you can just do DWF.
I see PDF files are accepted for the calculations, reports, or other supporting documentation, non-drawing files and reference drawings only. The cover sheet would be a DWF.
The cover sheet would probably have to be a PDF because they're going to have to scan it in.
Oh,
with
so
the what? Yeah.
Okay.
It's not there.
It's not there. Oh. Okay. So I'm hearing that the cover sheet is a PDF.
And just on that, we're looking to work with Springfield to eliminate that requirement. As you know, it's a state law right now that the first page needs to be wet stamped and wet signature. It's an archaic law in Illinois and a few other states, and we're working with our office in Springfield to have that changed. We're fortunate to have the AA behind us, and I think most of the architectural community agrees that that's an outdated law and that's something that needs to be changed. But until it is, we have to live with it. Yes, sir.
Along with that, do the drawings need to be electronic stamps when we submit them?
Repeat the question.
The drawings will need to be electronic stamped. So that was the question. I think
No.
signature, just stamped only.
No.
Doesn't
The
have,
question was, does the electronic drawings need to be stamped? And the answer is yes. Each page will need to be stamped with you can create a PDF of your stamp and just download it onto that.
But no
comment
PDF
on
of
that?
our signature.
No, you won't need the signature. If you want to
That
put,
comes at the end.
yeah. However you want to do it. If you want to do a PDF of your stamp, that's fine. If you want to do a PDF of stamp with your signature, that's fine too. We'll leave that up to you.
We have a quick follow-up here, Matt.
Yes, a quick follow-up. I was one of the first test cases for this, and on our resubmittal, we were going to resubmit electronically for some structural drawings. My structural engineer will not electronically stamp the drawings. He says it's against our bylaws, and all he would send me was a PDF. I don't know if anybody knows that or not.
There was a question of whether there's bylaws that say a structural engineer cannot PDF. I'm not aware of that.
We never had that.
But there's never been an issue with
yours time.
and there hasn't been an issue with Buzzsaw, which we were using for
it has not been an issue.
a long time before that. So I mean, if he wants to,
Yeah, I don't know what the problem was.
he
with the
can give us a
structural
call.
engineer,
We
but-
could have our attorneys walk us through that.
Gentlemen, in the back.
Currently, after a permit is released, we have to have hard copy sets on site. Is that still a requirement now? So there will be paper sets printed at the office, so we're keeping them on site with the permit.
Yes.
Yes. The question is, sorry.
We only need one on site.
And the question was, do you still need a hard copy on the actual construction site? The answer currently is yes. As technology grows, maybe your GCs can have tough books on site, or however we want to do it. I mean, it's not written in stone, but currently we'll have a drawing set on site.
Sir, in the back.
Has the Board of Underground process changed at all?
Board of Underground process changed at all.
Has the OEC process changed at all?
I don't.
No.
No, he does not only do paper. He does electronic reviews as well. Any review that's a part of our process will be performed electronically. That includes the OUC.
Yes, sir.
Something you said caught my attention. On a big project, you may have up to 10 consultants, okay? I mean, a really large project. You made a comment, I want to make sure I heard you right, that on a correction cycle, you have to have everybody's stuff uploaded before it'll be reviewed?
That's correct.
Everybody's. Now, on a project where you may have 7 consultants, can they upload their stuff themselves, or does one person who's a login person have to do it?
The login person, that's really up to you if you have to share.
Okay,
You know,
so-
you could share it. and
So
look at
how do you know, so you would electronically know what's still missing to be uploaded for a comment cycle, correction cycle? Because you know what's outstanding?
You as far as you're talking about you, or you're talking about the city?
The city.
The city, how will they know what's outstanding?
Yes.
They can tell if, let's say well, first you want to do due diligence, but getting all your files uploaded. But if you, let's say you don't, they can actually tell, when they do a markup, and it talks about it in the guide, there's a little markup symbol. So if they don't see a version 2, and they see that the version 1 is still unmarked, that's how they would know.
And there's a question, the general question was, can all the subs upload into Project Docs independently? The answer is no. Right now, we're going to have a gatekeeper on both sides. We're going to have a gatekeeper on the city side, so you're not going to be getting a plumber one day, event guy the next day. You'll be able to see on the system what needs to be corrected, but we won't be downloading piecemeal to you, and we ask that you not do piecemeal to us for the initial rollout.
Since we all know the incredible clarity of the Chicago Building Code and the zoning ordinance, and part of the function of the open plan review is to look at how the code is interpreted. Is there a provision for that on this system or not?
We still have Ed and Asif with us, and one thing we want to do is make sure that our guys give the best corrections to you. That's why I have them doing it on the drawing, so there's no dispute over what stairwell you're looking for on what floor, or if you have multiple stairwells on the 5th floor, which one you're talking about. So that's where the bubbling comes into play. I understand there are always going to be a little disagreements about what the code says, and currently, if you run into that, you usually call Ed or you call Asif. Please continue to do the same. We don't want to bring you in for OPR for something that you don't need to be brought in for.
Or you can use the link.
Yes.
Okay.
The project administrator, project manager link.
Yeah.
And you can send the question to your project administrator, your contact.
Yeah, so all your emails that you receive, you're going to get lots of them. Hopefully not too many. But there is a project administrator link on the email, and other information on the email as well.
Yes, sir.
Some consultants do not come under the guise of the architect's review because they're owned and operated by the principal or the owner of the project, such as security, banking, some things. So we don't have privilege to get those drawings. Some of them aren't enabled to us. How would we get a review through if there's a comment or a question on those people, because we can't submit them?
No, the question was if you have a
security consultant,
high secure
buildings, if you have a security consultant and they have individual drawings, how do you, the architect, who don't have contractual relationship with them, get it into E-plans?
But maybe structural engineer is a separate entity under your contract.
How do you handle it now?
Sorry, what was the question?
It very well could be a structural engineer.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Is that happening?
Sir, in the back.
There's no answer.
If you had a project that you just needed somebody to look at to make sure before you start doing how you're drawing.
Sir, can you stand up because you're way in the corner back there?
Pre-review, if you needed somebody to look at the drawing before you did all the drawings, like a design set, that you wanted somebody to pre-review in case you had questions on it.
Like
Is there going to be any of that kind
A
of?
preliminary
A
review.
preliminary review meeting for developer services, those will not go away, okay? And I'm sure if you need to, for a standard plan review, you can probably set up something with Ed. For developer services projects, we still continue to have our preliminary review meetings. Those will not go away because some of the projects are a little bit more complex, and they are not 100% when they come in to meet us. You're gonna, there is a folder structure that's set up that will allow you to upload at least 75% drawings, and those are made available to internally for the city to review. And if you want to come in and sit down, we can go through those as well in our conference room. We have the capability to review those.
Are you paying 50% before you submit those?
No.
Not for a preliminary, no.
The question was, for preliminary reviews, are you paying the 50% ahead of time? The answer is no.
Okay, one at a time. Yes, sir.
What about driveways? Who's going to be reviewing driveways?
We have driver review here. Driver review is part of the building permit process. That'll be electronic.
Yes.
Zoning
Anyone
as
that
well.
touches plans, all the other agencies and departments have e-plan.
Yeah. Zoning has it. Health department has it. MOPD has it.
Yeah, but as part of that driveway review, if you submit a site plan and it shows a driveway, then you have to go to another department to have somebody approve that driveway, and they have to sign the back of the application, which is now electronic. So how is all that process being handled?
If you have to sign the back of the application, you'll have to upload that. You have to scan it and upload it to project docs, into that application folder.
Well, we're going to get the comment from zoning, so then we have to go upload, print that out, go down to someone at City Hall, have someone at City Hall sign that, saying that, yes, your driveway is approved. This is not going through the driveway approval process. This is just stating that your driveway fees and insurance is all up to date. Someone has to sign that manually on the back of the application. Then we go back to zoning. They have to approve it.
The driveway application process is a part of this review. I
Not
understand
the
what you're
application
saying.
process.
Okay,
This is if you have a site plan and you show a driveway on it.
I understand.
You have to go to Thomas and have him sign off on it.
Thomas is a part of this review process, and we'll have to work on the signing of the back of the application, but that process is electronic. Every review that we require is electronic. Everyone, that includes driveways.
Okay, then going back to that gentleman's comment about pre-approval, there's some personalities down at City Hall that don't even want to sign off on the understandings that are in the back of the code, and we have to wait for OSIP to do that. So how will that be handled now? Along with some other special permit issues that OSIP allows.
The pre-review is that gentleman was talking about, that one?
This is after pre-review, after you submit it.
They're saying if OSIP has to give a special approval, it just happens online.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to happen. It's going to continue the same way. If you can't come to an agreement with whatever reviewer is giving you these comments, then we come in, we sit in the conference room, and we bring everything up.
We'll
bring your plans up
screens, bring it up on the screens on paper.
Sir?
On the final approval for multidisciplinary stamping, do you have to get everybody on there on that final paper version? Do you go in and get
The cover sheet, you mean? I believe the cover sheet needs to have all the license or all your people on the cover sheet.
Has to have license. All
So-
the licensed professionals,
We have a
wet
cover sheet.
stamp
We have all my
signatures,
reviewers on the cover sheet.
certification
when
statement.
you stamp it,
Yeah.
I gotta get the structural engineer, mechanical.
Yes.
So he's asking at that final process with the cover sheet, does he have to have all the disciplines stamped on the plan, on that cover sheet? And the answer is yes. When you bring that cover sheet in, and that's highlighted on page 16. I think it spells that out a little bit more.
We're on the other side of tennis courts. Yes, sir.
How are the administrative adjustments and the variances being handled with zoning when you're not completing a full set of drawings? If you want that,
Repeat
I'm
one more
sorry,
time,
can
sir.
you? But I can't hear you.
how are the administrative adjustments and the variances being handled with zoning when you're not doing a full set of drawings? You're waiting for their approval, yes or no on those?
The question was, how are zoning variances and adjustments going to be handled? had that earlier.
The zoning, is that part of the zoning pre-screen?
Part of the zoning.
Yeah, right. The first place that I mentioned this in the initial submittal. The first step in the process is zoning, actually. If I'm answering, I'm not as familiar with variances and all, but the zoning, there is a pre-screen process for zoning, and that's when they look at it and they identify if it's conditionally approved or not approved. So it does, zoning's part of that process, and you'll get an email notification if they need something.
Caesar? Stand up, you're in the back. Stand up, please.
I have a question, I think Amanda mentioned, but starting with owner signatures, contractor signatures, and the architect signatures, usually goes on the last page. Right. So does that get original and then scanned in, or how does that do?
You'll obtain your signature, stamps, and then you'll scan it in. Everything is electronic.
The question was, the signatures are on the application. Can they be signed and then scanned in? The answer is yes.
Yes. That's how you would do it, actually.
Regarding the corrections, since, as we've mentioned, we have a lot of consultants.
Yeah.
I wasn't certain if I understood. We do have the ability to download every DWF that has a comment on it, and then we could then email those to our engineers
you
and
actually,
allow them to make corrections and then resubmit them?
So the question was, do you have, if you have many subs that you work with, which is understandable, right. I've been there. The EForm that I mentioned. Yes. So when you get that notification, revisions, here's your corrections. On the EForm, you have a list of every single correction that all the disciplines have put on there. That EForm has the capability to download from that EForm to like an Excel, something that you can make portable to send.
Not a drawing that shows the graphic representation of the correction, though.
It actually has a little thumbnail associated with it, not the full drawing. Now, with that said, and I mean, there's other ways to handle that. If your email address, that's your license, you're owner of that or whatever, you could give rights to other people to be able to use that.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to understand is I've got...
I know, it's a privacy thing, but I'm saying that's his prerogative. Right now, you're the project manager.
Wait a second. Let's say we've got 5 different disciplines besides the architect.
Yeah.
And we get comments. Frankly, a lot of our comments are engineering disciplines and not architects. So we're going to spend a lot of time managing the correction process. I don't have a problem with that. I don't even mind if it all comes through me.
Okay, good.
But the beauty of this system, as you said, is that it's a graphic representation. I would love for my engineers to be able to clearly understand the error and then respond and send it back to me, and I'm happy to upload it, and I'll even check their work. But I'm just trying to figure out what's the tip for the most economical way, time-wise, for us as the gatekeeper on this side to distribute to our team and get it back to us.
There is another process, it's just I don't remember seeing it in the document that we can upload and provide as another example. You actually can copy those change marks and create a document outside of that.
Make a PDF
like make a PDF of it.
That would be great. We could make a PDF and email it to the engineers and then they can...
But you would have to do the due diligence of identifying which ones you'd need to do. There's not a push.
And they need to send us back another DWF, which we would then upload.
Yes.
If we value our email.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Just a minor housekeeping issue for me personally. The gentleman in the red tie mentioned archaic Springfield rules. I like the fact that my clients are going to need my wet signature at the end of the job because it gives me an opportunity to collect my fees. Because the state of Illinois, it's important. The state of Illinois does not allow me to tell you, the building department, that I haven't been paid yet, but it's important for me to be paid.
Good comment. Yes, sir.
How's the self-serve gonna go down with this? Is this,
nothing's gonna change.
If you were all set and it was one day in and out, is this gonna be when I'm ready and all my stuff is up? Am I gonna be out in one day and all this stuff is good?
Well, it's gonna work right. It's gonna work like it is today. You have your intake meeting. That's now it's like 4 months, but normally it's like 8 days out. When you upload your plans, you're gonna get an email. Expect your pre-screening, or what's really our intake meeting, to be 10 days from now. And that project manager loads up your application and drawings. He will do a self-search just like he normally would with your paper. And you'll be issued that permit the same day.
And that one person is going to issue comments back to you, and so there's going to be this back and forth now with comments that right now are sort of face to face.
Exactly. If there's comments on your self-search job, yes. The PM would be making the comments and sending them back to you. Right.
But work with Doug, you know, as we're testing out this new system of self-serve.
Just to clarify, when we have questions about the review comments, especially when it's, say, my electrical engineer has a question on the electrical reviewer's comments, and he needs clarifying, that all has to go through me to the project administrator, to the reviewer, then back to the project administrator, to me, to my consultant?
Right now, the answer to your question is yes. We are allowing you to speak to the individual reviewers, but not until the first review cycle is complete. What that means is you have to go through the complete review cycle. All disciplines have to be done. Your corrections have been returned to you. Then you can email your project administrator, project manager, you'll know who the reviewer is. You may not have their email information. We can provide that to you, and then you can speak with the individual in regards to your corrections for clarity. And the reason why we do that is we want the examiners to complete the review without any interruption. Sometimes we have architects that say, oh, well, you know, I forgot to do this, and they think in the middle of the process, and we're like, no, let's save all the questions to the end.
Sir, in the back row.
Occupancy placards and floor load placards. Occupancy placards and floor load placards.
Just repeat the question.
Occupancy placards
right now are going to be the same way. Walk-in, yeah.
We are looking to review that too. So. Yeah, that's
eventually, but we're not there yet.
Yes, sir.
That's one of the processes we're looking, as the commissioner mentioned. There's other parts of the building process that we're looking at. That is one that we're looking at from a different angle.
Yes.
In many cases, some of the corrections for pre-screening or driveways.
Can you stand up? I'm sorry.
In many cases, some of the corrections for pre-screening involve submitting photographs. One of the items on page 7 says files must be monochrome with white background for everybody. So sometimes what I do is upload photographs onto my plans. So is there going to be a separate folder for photographs as required, or are we going to be able to have color photographs on our plan submitted? Or do I have to go to Photoshop and turn them all in black and white?
Right now, everything is black and white, with something to take into consideration because we did not think about the photos.
Driveways and some of them often require photos.
That's true, and you're right.
Good comment. Yes, ma'am.
50% payment all credit card. Is that it? Online? Is that your only method of payment?
Your method of payment actually is in person right now.
50%.
I don't know the answer to. She's asking 50% of your.
Huh?
In the beginning, you're asking for 50%.
Yes.
So we'll be right by July.
You have to come in.
And
That's only temporary. They're working on the electronic format of that right now. So right now, you will come into the permit center, see the cashier, pay the 50%.
But that's after your initial review, right? In other words, the project manager comes in, make sure your documents are in order.
Yes.
Pre-screen.
Yeah, and then you would get an email to say, come on in and pay.
And hopefully by July 2nd, this will all be done online where you won't be coming down in person.
Yeah, I think they're going to take bank checks and something else, credit cards. But what's the thing that I keep asking them about? They say they don't take MyPal or PayPal or something. Don't take it for some reason. It's not we don't take the money. We just approve drawings. Yes.
Is there a way that we could just upload the PDFs instead of the DWFs? We're working on Macs and we're not using Autodesk products. And PDFs are really the only format that's convenient.
I have to commend you for asking us that question so politely.
The morning sessions weren't
Your class number 3, and I think our 2 morning classes had a lot of caffeine in it. So repeat the question, please.
About Mac, and you only have Macs, and so is it a way that you can have PDFs that you can upload instead of DWFs?
That is something we are clearly going to review, and maybe even as early as tomorrow morning.
Yes. Yeah. For review.
I think that's something that we'll definitely take a look at. Reason being, we were looking at the size of the drawings before with Buzzsaw. PDFs were an issue because they were so large, and for storage purposes, DWFs are a lot smaller. So that's something that we'll go back and reevaluate and take into consideration.
And if necessary, we'll try to even come up with a timeline if we were able to. But don't.
Same thing related to browsers.
Yeah. As far as the Internet Explorer versus if you have a Mac and you're doing Safari, that's an upgrade that we're also taking into consideration. It's an upgrade of the actual software, which our software does allow, but the city just has to have timeline to make that upgrade.
Sir in the back row.
What kind of time turnaround are we looking at in the last 5 months that we've been doing this?
3.5 years. The
question was what's going to be the turnaround, and we'll really learn that when we go to
17-ish.
When we go to standard plan review, as far as how much time we could knock off this. As you know, in developer services, Buzzsaw, you had the simultaneous reviews already, so we don't have a. We've done it in developer services for 2 months, but that's not a fair comparison because that was electronic beforehand. But the 2 main things that we talked about, the commissioner talked about, simultaneous reviews, so you're not having Ed Doherty literally push a garbage can around full of drawings and just giving it to each discipline, which he does on a daily basis. He's worried about what happens to his exercise. And the other is putting some more clear directions on the drawings instead of having to read off a sheet and then roll your drawings out and figure out what needs to be done.
Yes, sir.
So, Ed, do we still maintain our intake appointments for June with the PMs on the floor and then create the July 2nd is going to be the turnover date for E-Plan?
Yeah, we're going to take paper through June. If you're more than welcome to, in June, to do the E-Plans.
Okay.
We'll simply just cancel that application and then you would have to start a new one. But that's not a big deal.
We highly recommend it.
If I have dates already, I can still meet with the PMs in June.
Sure. All the way through June we'll meet with the PMs. And we're even scheduling in July just in case. But if we're ready to go July, those won't be paper intakes. Those are all going to go E-Plan.
Pete in the back.
Hi. Just a follow-up question to 2 previous questions. As of July 2nd, it will be 100% mandatory. As of June 4th, it's going to be optional. Now, you have plans coming in, as of right now, normal process, you're going to have it coming in as of June and then of July. How is that going to affect the timeline when the E-plans are mandatory as of June, July 2nd? How's that going to affect the timeline for the people that submitted in May or June?
We have to manage our time on the review floor.
It's going to be a learning. It's a little bit of a learning curve. We are transitioning. Large corporations do it every day, so it will be a little bit of a transition for the city side in terms of just all the staffs getting comfortable with the E-Plan, as well as the professional community as well.
Sure, but it seems like I know you have to manage your time, but does it seem fair that if he submits a plan on July 4th, he's being reviewed, but I submitted a plan in April?
That's first one.
It's first in, it goes by the latest of the latest date. So the reviewers are not reviewing, they're looking, right now, they're reviewing both electronic and paper. They're going by the latest date. So if the plan came in March, that's going to get reviewed before something that comes in today.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do changes need to be bubbled?
Yes.
Changes need to be bubbled.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Do changes need to be bubbled?
Bubbled. It's whatever method. Yes, as far as your changes, continue. It's easier for them. Continue doing your delta clouds on your changes, and that way, when they do the overlay compare, it'll even stand out even more. And that's just suggested. That way, you can tell what you changed. They can tell what you changed. But they do have the overlay compare. But I would suggest yes, continue doing that.
Sir, Neil.
Kind of related to the Mac question,
What about the guys that are still drawing by hand?
Who? Who?
There's some people that are still drawing by hand.
We had a couple of those questions earlier, and I think we're just going to take that case by case. I think Asif is going to be our lead on that, and he'll have some ideas. So we're going to help you find young talent.
I know this guy, he works.
Let me do one more on this end, and I'll go back here. Yes, sir.
A lot of the comments and questions today, I think, are more applicable to building permit. We talked about lots of consultants on bigger projects.
Yeah.
I think the intent of this program is to be applicable to all types of permitted projects, whether it's a simple roofing replacement project, window replacement project, equipment replacement. So whether it's repair or replacement project of a smaller scale, this E-plan process is intended to bridge all types of permitted projects. Is that correct?
Not exactly. The question was, is this for all type of building permit projects? We're not going to use this for our easy permit projects. So if I don't require architectural drawings, then there's no need for me to go through E-plan. I can still just go online and get an easy permit. I can pull a drywall repair permit. I don't need to submit anything, documentation to support that.
And that was the exact point of my question, because there are certain repair type permits that don't require stamped drawings.
Exactly. You should be able to get those in the same day.
Easy PPP plan, that's staying the same. That's not.
We still have a few customers coming to the building department.
Well, it'd be nice online.
Well, we're trying to get.
We've
gotten a lot online. We're going to try to get more online as well.
Yes, sir. You've been so patient in the front row.
Thank you. 2 questions. This self-cert, we do mostly self-cert in our office. I've been kicking around for 30 years, so when I finish, can you introduce, I know Ed, but I don't know the rest of you. So if you could introduce yourself so I could connect the name to your face. Will self-cert be essentially the same process, only we submit and it comes back with a permit, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Same with certified corrections too. That'll be certified corrections are not changing. I'd like to invite you guys to do more certified corrections. Please.
Should we introduce ourselves? I think is what he wants. Yeah.
Everyone knows I'm Ed Doherty.
For the record, Matt Baudet. He's the first deputy of the department.
Laura Chambers with the VOG, not with the city. But...
Ken Meyer, chief of staff for the department. You do not want me looking at your technical stuff. I'm just trying to get stuff done. The commissioner.
Aprella Johnson, developer services.
And everyone else. Yes, sir.
For firms with multiple licensed architects, can you use one login and one password, or does everybody share that one password, or how does that work?
Right now, the way the system is set up, when Project Docs queries our Hanson system, Hanson is going after the licensed architect. So whoever's email is on that licensed architect, that's who will receive the email and the temporary password. And as Laura stated earlier, it's up to that architect to share that information with his project team.
It's the same as the Hanson system, because you don't have a master login for Hanson. Yes, sir.
Question, how does the job get a sealed set of plans with all the stamps on it from the city now with this new method?
You want to repeat it?
Okay.
How does the job get a sealed set of plans with everybody at the site?
For the field.
For the field.
Okay. How that happens, as she stated earlier, the drawings will be batch stamped. There's what's called an approved drawing folder. Those drawings are moved to that approved drawing folder. Once you pay for the permit, you will have to come in with 2 hard copies of your cover sheet and or drawing index. If it's separate, that needs to have wet stamps and signatures, certification statement, energy code statement, all of the regulars, okay? We'll stamp both copies. We'll maintain one for the city's record. We'll return one to you. You can scan that, upload it to Project Docs. The drawings that were stamped electronically, in addition to the cover sheet that you have stamped by the city, that will be your permit set. You will be able to print that in your office once you pay for the permit. And you will need that in the field, so that's why we want to give you the wet stamped sheet with all your licensed professionals and our stamp. And that's on page 16 of your user guide.
what person do we go to submit these to a stamp?
You're gonna go to your project manager, and you'll know who that is, because that's the person that, you receive, the
It'll be on
information
all the
from.
emails.
I'm probably gonna run that through the planned pickup somehow. I haven't figured it out, but that's probably where everyone's gonna come and go to get those.
Okay. Why don't we take a couple more general questions? The Department of Billings team here is willing to stay after the last two questions. I feel like there's a couple things I didn't get to yet.
So once you have the title sheet with all of it, can you get your actual permit the same day, or do you have to go back down?
Oh, absolutely. You're gonna have your permit, and you're gonna receive your permit and your fee, but we want you to upload, scan that sheet and upload, because we need to have that to maintain our records. Those drawings will be moved to that folder, okay, and it will be released. There's an approved drawing folder where the drawings will go as we approve it, but it will not be released until you pay for it and upload everything, okay? And that'll be the only thing that you have to upload at this point, nothing else.
Sir?
Great as email is, communicating, sometimes you just need to talk to somebody, ask a question.
We took out all the phones.
Yeah.
We stripped out all the phones. There's no more phones.
Pick up the phone.
311.
You'll know who all your plan examiners are. You know, when you get that resubmit, it has it spelled out on every single markup. Their name is everywhere. So you'll know exactly who provided you with the correction. If something's not clear, you'll know the name of that person, and it may even spell out the email, but yeah, you could.
You know, I think Chicago's known for this fantastic design, fantastic, always has been since the Great Chicago Fire. And if you're working on a new, we just had a bunch of stuff that just go through standards and testing on product and just things that have never existed before, and our code doesn't address. So we're going to continue, if you're working on really, really unique, different stuff, we want to continue bringing in, have meetings. There are processes for complicated stuff where we just can't figure it out in the building code. It's got to go through one of our commissions or committees for changes. So the only thing really that's changed is all those red carts, which you guys can now sell on eBay. You're not going to need them anymore for your 250-pound white paper.
There's a couple of things we're working on that's going to help the review process. One I know is going to happen for sure. I got 8 project managers. They do 7 intakes a day. They're going to be able to do at least 15 a day. So I'm not going to need all of them. Some of my project managers, you know who the better ones are, I can put in the back, and they're going to go to places where we have a little bit of log jam. Like 2 of them I know can go to architectural, 1 can go to MOPD, 1 can go to fire. So in the long run, it's going to help that review process as well. ASIF is working on 2 things, and I can't promise you it's going to happen, but I think a version of it's going to happen. We might be doing away with contractors up front, and we'll just do it at the back end when we issue a permit. Can't promise you that, but we're working on that. Secondly, keep on getting logged out, or you get locked out of application after you go to zoning. ASIF's going to try to make it mandatory that all of those schedules, all of that is going to be part of your plan now. So we won't have to put it into Hanson. So go ahead and get locked out, it won't matter, because after that, you really don't need to get back in there, and my project managers can add all of your GCs and all your subs. So if we can do those 2 things, I think that's going to help out.
And make sure you're communicating. I mean, the whole goal on this is really not to get you out in 3.5 years, but to shorten the whole time to permit. So if you're coming up with some ideas and thoughts and suggestions while we're doing this, make sure you're communicating with Ed or with ASIF. We've gotten a lot of feedback. This is class number 3, 4, 3. We've got a few more today, a few more tomorrow. These guys don't even realize we have a 9 o'clock now tomorrow morning to review what we're hearing today. Attack some of these polite questions about PDFs and Macs and stuff. Because a lot of stuff is not just relying on our department. You know, we're 50 departmental governments, so we have to, you know, that's our problems to combat the other agencies that we have to work with on the computer stuff. So why don't we take one last question, and then we will stay here. We'll let you guys that want to leave.
Yes.
We'll hang out, and the new class will start coming in. Yes, sir.
Right now I'm in the self-cert. I have a project that was passed through zoning, but now I'm waiting until July 5th to get in. Now, can I submit on June 4th, the second half, into the building department?
The only problem with that is you're not going to be able to upload your drawings.
Should I start over?
When is it,
in
June?
zoning and just start over?
When's it, June?
Faster? That's my question. My client's very anxious.
Why don't we figure this out?
I'll talk to you.
We'll figure this out.
At the end, I'll talk to you.
Okay, thanks everyone. I think we'll be here if you have some individual questions. Thanks for coming.
What about